Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of I've Been Playing, where this week we're talking about Zero Escape, the Nonary Games. Zero Escape, the Nonary Games is a combination of two of the three games in the Zero Escape franchise, namely 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors, or 999 if you want to abbreviate it, and Virtue's Last Reward, which were originally released on the Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS respectively, as well as some other platforms since then. They are visual novels developed by the same people behind Danganronpa and are very, very similar in tone, if not in playstyle. This series, as opposed to that one, is more of a series of escape rooms, hence Escape. And as you may guess from the first game, the number 9 is incredibly important. The 0 refers to the one overseeing the game, who goes by Zero. The two games start very similarly. You are kidnapped by use of some sort of gas grenade that causes you to pass out, and eventually you wake up not really knowing what the hell's going on in an escape room type situation. The first one, you wake up on your own. The second one, you wake up with a companion. Not like that. In terms of gameplay, they are very similar, so I'm going to try to talk to them one after the other, but they are quite similar in how they function. The main way they differ is how you get through doors. So in the first one, in 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors, you have to make the digital root of the people involved equal the number on the door you're going through. So that is complicated. So let me explain. Basically what you have is you have 9 people and bracelets on their wrists that don't come off, and if you break any of the rules of the game, you die. So the first one you have numbers 1 through 9. The 9 characters have 1 through 9 written on their wrists, so the character you're playing as is number 5. And what you have to do is go through with between 3 and 5 people, I believe it was, through a door, and the numbers on the bracelets, you have to add them together and find the digital root of the number it is when you add it together, and only those people can go through that door. And you can only go through if you contributed, and everyone who contributed has to go through the door, or again, bad things will happen. The digital root is explained in the game, so I don't necessarily need to explain it to you, but basically if I had, say, 3, 5, and 7, I would add 3, 5, and 7 to get 15, and then I would add the 1 and the 5 together to get 6. The digital root would be 6. That is a short explanation. I'm sure you can look it up or play the game if you want to know more, but this entire game is kind of based off of that concept, and the way to escape is using that concept and those numbers to open the doors until you eventually get to the final door, which is door number 9. The second game functions a little bit differently. There is a final door with a 9 on it, so you need to get 9, I believe they were called bracelet points, to get out of the warehouse you're in. And the way you do that is by voting against an opposing player or team, and you get points for whether you ally or betray each other and what the other team or person does. I say team or person because there are pairs and solo players in Virtue's Last Reward. And the way the doors open in this one, apart from the final one, is color combinations, which I found a hell of a lot more confusing than the numbers, I've gotta say. Like, the first door made sense. You know, you make secondary colors out of primary colors, so you can only go through the door with combinations of colors that make the door you're going through, if that makes any sense. Like, you have to go through, it was CMYK, so you have to go through magenta if you have red and blue, I'm assuming. So a red pair and a blue solo person, because you had to have exactly 3 people to go through, if I remember correctly. So it had to be a pair and a solo, and you had to quote-unquote add together to make the color of the door. And I'm gonna be honest, that one got into some color theory that didn't really make any sense to me. I just picked an option and went with it. Other than that kind of overarching story and escape from this facility that you've been dragged to and or forced to participate in, not quite as bad a killing game as Danganronpa is, but not much better in some cases. You also have the individual escape rooms themselves, and it's really interesting because depending on the door you go through and who you go through the door with, you do actually get different escape rooms. So every time you play through, each route is actually different. It's not like you go through the door with these people, but it's the same room no matter which door and people you pick. It is genuinely different. There are genuinely different rooms, different escape routes. The second one, I think, had 24 endings, it told me. I know the first one has several as well. well. I don't know how many. I saw one of each because I just went through them once and did so very badly. Some of the puzzles were... They had that kind of point-and-click thing where it didn't really make sense or something was hidden where I wasn't expecting. The first one, considering they were both ported from DS, and I was playing on PS4, which is always kind of iffy when you take something that's basically point-and-click based and put it on a console, the first one seemed to function better for me. It was a lot more forgiving with where I was clicking than the second one. The second one I had a lot of issues with in terms of clicking on things that I actually wanted to click on because I would be a few pixels too far and it was thinking I was clicking on the shelf and not as an example, a coffee machine or something. I was just slightly off, so that was a little annoying. In terms of the puzzles themselves though, they're really good puzzles. Some of them were more difficult than I was expecting, and as I said, sometimes there were things that weren't entirely clear, or some of those things where you'd want to take screenshots or pictures of. Even though there are files for some of it, there's a lot of text in some of those files. You won't remember they're there necessarily, sometimes they're not necessarily the most useful, or just having to flip back and forth between a file and the puzzle you're doing, not always conducive to a smooth game experience, so you may want to have notes on hand or a walkthrough on hand. You definitely want a walkthrough on hand if you want a specific ending, or if you're playing it multiple times and want to make sure you're getting a specific ending. There are a lot of things throughout, I suspect each game, but it felt like the first one more, where you could completely screw the ending up for yourself by doing one little thing wrong, or missing one little thing, or saying one dialogue option a little bit differently. Overall though, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, the puzzles can be a little obtuse at times, though that's more a fault of me not clicking on everything or just forgetting something as soon as I switch screens. More than the game itself, it's not a game design thing, it's probably just a me thing. There's plenty of replayability if you enjoy this, because, I mean, there are a ton of endings, and if you want to see a specific character make it to the end, not that they can't all make it to the end, I'm assuming, but if you want to follow, like, one particular character's quest line, quote-unquote, you can do that. Again, probably follow a walkthrough just to make sure if you are trying for that. There are plenty of options, plenty of different routes to go through. There's a whole big web for both games, so you don't necessarily have to play the entire game over again if you want to see different things. You can jump to bits and pieces and parts in the story and replay them, or play new ones, pick new options, so you don't necessarily have to play the entire thing again. Some of them will be fairly close to the beginning and you might have to play a significant portion of the game again, but you don't have to start from the beginning. You can start from, you know, a sixth of the way in, which is better than nothing. If you are a fan of visual novel mysteries, specifically maybe escape rooms in general, I would definitely recommend checking this series out. There is one more in the series, I have not played it yet. Thankfully I got this one before that one, so that any connecting plot, which obviously I haven't gotten into for obvious reasons, wasn't spoiled for me, or I wasn't out of the loop, but there are 3 of them. They are available on console now. I believe this collection is available on Game Pass right now, at least on Xbox. I think it's this one, so you can pick it up there if you want to check it out. It's also available on Steam, I know I've seen it around, and it's worth a check if you enjoy visual novel, adventure game, escape room kind of deals. And that's it for this week's I've Been Playing. Let me know what you think of this game, or these games technically, in the comments down below. Have you played either of them? Do you have a favorite specific route? Please try to avoid spoilers as much as possible, or like, you know, do the thing where you space all the way down. But let me know what you think, what endings you got, what endings are ridiculous. Anything, really, down in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, consider subscribing if you're not subscribed yet, because I do one of these every Monday. I'm able to play a new game, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff on my channel that you can check out down in the description or on my channel, wherever you like. I'll see you next time.